はい、19時のちょっと定刻を過ぎてしまったの
I'm
です
afraid
が、
it's a little
ご準
later
備で
than
いらっしゃいます
the
でしょ
planned
うか？
starting
ま、
time,
これから
7
ちょっ
p.m.
と入室され
I
てくるか
wonder
と
if
思いますけ
all
れども、
audiences
第19回
already
仮想先
in
生の
this
方お話
room.
ししたいと思
I'm
って
sure
おり
there
ま
will
す。
be more to
本日は
come,
司会
and this
進
is
行
the
を務めさ
19th
せていた
virtual
だきま
government
す、国
seminar
政情
starting,
報システム研
and
究所
I
研
am
究員の増田千佳子と申します。
Chikako Masuda
本日
from
ここから2時間
IAIS,
ですね、どうぞよろしくお願いいた
and
します。
please
本日のセミ
enjoy
ナーは
the
ですね、
2-hour
Zoom
seminar
ウェビナー
today.
を利用しております。
Today we are using
Zoom のウ
Zoom
ェビナーの
webinar
下にで
system,
すね、通訳ボ
and
タンがございまして、
there are
本日
the
は英語通訳を利
translation
用しており
button
ますので、
available, so
皆さん
please
が
press the
聞き
icon
な
if
が
you'd
ら
like
言語
to
をご確
listen
認い
to
ただけたら
simultaneous
と思っております。
interpretation
日
service.
本語を聞きになりたい
Select
方
your
は日本
language.
語ボタン
If you
を、
like
英語をお聞きにな
Japanese,
りたい方は英語のボタン
please
を押して
press
いただければ
Japanese
と思っており
button
ます。
indicated as
さ
Japanese,
て、仮想
and
先生ミナーな
English,
んですけれど
English.
も、東京大学
Now,
公
this
共
is
政
a
策
virtual
大学院
government
と
seminar,
一般社団法
and
人行
this
政情報
seminar
システ
is
ム研究所が電子政府
sponsored
行政に
by
資する知
the
見を国の有識者
IAIS
の
and
方
the
々にですね、
GRASPP.
まず
And this is
質問し
an
ていただく
opportunity
形と
that
し
we
まして開
invite
催しており
the
ます。
experts
今
from
年
different
第19
countries
回目を迎え
to
る仮
hear
想先生
about
ミナーなんですけれ
the
ども、今
utilization
準
of
備中
the
なトピック
IT
にもありま
systems
す
in the
AI につ
public
いてご準備を
administration.
ご
And
用
this
意いたし
time
ました。東京
we
都内におけ
decided
る
to
AI、アジア地
talk
域にお
about
けるアメリカ
AI,
の
which is a
AI 戦
very
略
hot
をテー
topic.
マにお
And
伝えいたしま
today's
す。
official theme
ま
is
た
AI in the
CC
public
発、
sector,
進
launching
歩して
regional
いる AI が
cooperation
国分進出
collaboration
と
in
どのような
Asia.
意味を持つのか、また
What
新た
is
な課
the
題を生
implication
み出し
of
ている
the
6
quickly
つのトピッ
evolving
クに
AI,
お
and
け
what
る
is the new
スピーカ
value
ー
and
専門家をお
challenges
呼び
that
し
we
て
are
トークセッションを
experiencing?
行いたいと思
And
います。
this is going to be
本
a
当
place
に、
for the
ぜ多くの
active
方々が
discussion
今日たくさん揃っ
with
てお
the
いただいて
experts
おり
and
ま
the
すので、ぜ
practitioners.
ひ皆さ
And
ん最
we
後ま
have a
でお聞き
great
いただければ
guest
と思い
today,
ます。
and I
本
hope you
セッ
will
ションは、
enjoy
今現
the
在されてい
entire
る
two
7つの
hours.
基調
As
講
you
演
can
の一
see,
歩、
we
電子
have
政
a
府行
couple of
政構
the
成と
keynote
なっておりま
speeches
す。
and a
前
couple of
半
panel
は本
discussions.
TV から、
The first
エルサ・
half
ピリ
of
ト
the
総裁
keynote
ご提
speech
供い
will
ただ
be
いており
given
ます。
by
そ
Ms.
れから
Elsa Pichevsky
その後
from
半で
OECD.
は、
And the
スピー
second
カー進行
part,
いたしまして、各国政府の方々からご
she
登
will
壇いた
kick
だき
off
ます。
the
また、後ほ
keynote
どです
and
ね、
then panel
どなたか
discussion.
それぞれについてお
We will
話しいただけ
receive
たらなと
different
思いま
speakers,
す。
but I am going to
それではで
introduce
すね、
all
主
these
催者を代表いたしまして、
participants
まず国政
later.
情報システム研究
Okay,
所理事長の
let's
畑中誠二
kick
郎
off,
様
and
ご挨
we
拶
would like
させ
to
ていただきたい
ask
と思いま
Mr.
す。
Seijiro Hatanaka, Chair of IAIS, to
じゃ
give
あ、
a
畑
welcome
中の
talk.
準備が、まだ今、準備中というこ
Mr.
とでさせていただけ
Hatanaka
ればと。
is
ではですね、
still
下に、
not ready,
東京
so
大学公
why
共
don't
政
we
策
ask
大学院の川口
Mr.
大二
Kawaguchi,
委員長からお話をい
Mr.
ただけ
Daiji
ればと思います。川
Kawaguchi,
口
Dean
先
of
生、よろしくお願いいたします。
GRASPP,
皆さ
to
ん、こんばん
kick
は。
off.
東京
Good
大学公
afternoon,
共
good
政策
evening,
大学院で理
everyone.
事をしております
I am
川
a
口
Dean
大
of
二と申します。
GRASPP, Daiji Kawaguchi.
本日ですね、2025年の
And
第19回仮想
upon
政府セミ
the
ナー
opening
開
of the
会ですね、
virtual government,
司会
the
者の一人
19th
として
virtual
ご案
government
内いたし
seminar
ます。
of
皆
2025,
様
I'd
には
like to
また
say a
同
few
時
words
に
as one of the
お集ま
sponsored
りいただきまして
and
本当に
host.
深く感謝
And
申し上
I
げま
would
す。
like to express my deep
本セミナーはこれ
appreciation
ま
for
で
you
18回開催
finding
してまいりまし
time
た。
despite your busy schedule.
第1回
We
目
have
は
been
電子
holding
政
the
府の裏
seminar
側
for
に
18
題して
times in the past, and this is the
4
19th.
月に総
The
理
first
川端康成
was
さんがされていた
hosted on the July
令和版3
2004
の
in
先
the
生を
theme
お招
of
きして開
e-government
催し
and
ました。
governance. We invited
その後
the
テーマ
Professor
その
Jane
後のテーマを
Fountain,
振り返って
who
みま
used
すと
to belong to
電子
Harvard
政府
University back
デジ
then.
タル政府
And
に関
then
する政府のガバナンスに関わるこ
after
と
that, we have
情報システムのマネジメントに
we
関
have
するも
hosted
の
the
外国
seminar
投
on
資
the
の防衛
different
に関
themes:
するもの
e-government,
実
digital
際の業務の
government,
改
the
革と
government
マンパワー
governance
投資
related topics,
情報システム
information
のカー
system
ボンプロジェクト
management
に関
topic,
するもの
IT investment,
さらに
and
は
the
デザイン
outcome
システム
related
機能な
topic,
ど多数の項
also
目
the
がありました。
practice
最近
in
ではですね、
innovation
今年3
related
月
and
に新しく
organization,
開
design
催さ
thought,
れる電子メデ
variety
ィアと
of
して
topic has been dealt
AI を
with. Recently, the 16th virtual government seminar was the seminar on the collective knowledge using AI in resolution of the social problem. We invited Professor Beth Novick from New York University. And then the 17th was about the modernization in the government. We invited the Professor Ms. Raylene Yang from GSA, who is an executive director of the U.S. General Service Administration. And then in last year, in May, the 18th seminar was held on the topic of the participation, design, and social innovation role in the digital society. We received that a professor from the Polytechnic of Milan, Ezio Manzini Milan, and this year the theme is AI in the public sector, launching regional collaboration in Asia.
Now, AI, artificial intelligence, is increasingly utilized in providing public services in many Asian countries. To ensure that AI is used strategically and responsibly in line with the public value, we need to address common challenges such as governance, transparency, human resource development, and cross-border cooperation. So with this as a backdrop, this year's virtual government seminar will build upon the OECD's new flagship report, Governing with AI. And we would like to explore with experts how we can build a regional network on AI governance and its application in Asia's public sector, and promote dialogue among diverse stakeholders. The transformation of government through information technology is an important theme for us, GRASBP, and our ongoing discussion with IAIS, which is working on practical side of this topic, is extremely meaningful. In addition, the organizer of this symposium, GRASBP and IAIS, as well as the OECD, as well as the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, recently signed a memorandum of understanding to advance research, knowledge exchange, and capacity building regarding future models of administration and governance. We hope that the symposium will serve as an opportunity to deepen such cooperation in the future. Thank you.
はい、川口先生、ご挨拶ありがとうございます。それではですね、
Thank you very much, Professor Kawaguchi. And let's go back to Mr. Hatanaka, the chair of IAIS, to say a few words. Hello, I am Hatanaka, chair of Institute of Administrative Information System, or IAIS. IAIS conducts research and studies with regard to building administrative information systems and promoting digital government. As a part of our awareness and promotion initiative, we publish journals and hold seminar events. We also have ICT service offering and provide administrative information service foundation. The purpose of this digital government seminar is to promote a broad understanding of challenges and actions of digital government. For many years, it has been co-hosted by GRASBP, Graduate School of Public Policy of the University of Tokyo, and we are pleased to welcome you at the 19th seminar today. This year's theme is taken from the trending topic of AI. There will be talks and the panel discussions on AI in public sector, launching regional collaboration in Asia. And to start off, Ms. Elsa Biljewski, Public Governance Directorate of OECD, will speak on governing with AI, lessons and directions of Asia.
And then Dr. Keegan McBride of the Tony Blair Institute will talk on AI, digital transformation, and human-centered governance. And following these two keynote speeches, we will have two panel discussions. Both panel discussions will be moderated by the Graduate School of Public Policy at the University of Tokyo. The first panel will have a speaker from the OECD Public Governance Directorate, which recently issued a report on AI and national policies, and also Dr. Keegan McBride, one keynote speaker that we have in this seminar, discussion will be on the implication of governing with AI. The second panel discussion will feature government officials from Asia, including Japan. And they will talk about the theme of utilizing AI in the public sector in Asia. We have a lot to discuss. I hope that you will enjoy the program until the very end. Thank you.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very
か
much.
らの挨拶でした。はい、で
So
は、
that was
ここから
IAI's
早
chair,
速
Mr.
本編の方
Hatanaka.
に行きたいと思
Why
い
don't
ます。
we
ま
just
ずは
get started?
本当に
First of all,
エルザベリチョウスキーさんをお呼びで
I
きて
am really
大変嬉し
excited
く
and
し
honored
ておりました。
to
以前ですね、
receive Miss
OECD が
Elsa
初めての AI
Pilichevsky.
レポートを、
OECD recently
説明について
published the AI
いらっ
report,
しゃった
which
か
is
と思い
their
ます。
flagship
で
report,
ぜ
and
ひ
she has been leading that initiative too. So,
ピチョ
but
ウスキー局長はですね、
well,
OECD の公
the
共
Miss
ガバナンスの促進といたしまし
Pilichowski
て、市民の信頼構
has
築ですとか、
is a
民主主義を介し
public
た知識
governance
をな
directorate
さっていらっしゃいま
and
す。予算
also
編成、デジタルオー
responsible
プンガバメン
for
ト、
digital
報道
open
機会、
government,
そして
the
若者や女
public
性、政
procurement,
策省のエンパワー
youth,
メント
and
など、よ
the
り多岐にわたった政策領域を
the
取り上げていらっ
empowerment
しゃい
for the
ます。
women and
それでは、ピルチョウス
with
キー様、この後、
the vulnerable
キーノートスピーチいただきた
the
いと思います。
population.
ピル
So
チョウスキーさん、
why
どう
don't
ぞよろ
we
しくお願い
ask
いたしま
Ms.
す。
Pichowski to take the floor whenever you're ready, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shikako. Dear Mr. Hatanaka, dear Professor Kawaguchi, thank you very, very much. First of all, to the Japanese partners for the invitation, and thank you very much to all of those who are joining us today. I am very delighted to present the OECD new report on governing with AI, which we launched globally just last week. This is a report that looks specifically how governments can harness AI to better serve citizens. Governments are indeed increasingly turning to AI, and they will continue to do so. However, they need to build the capacity to adopt what is a fast evolving technology with very, very large promises while making sure they exercise a cautious approach. Indeed, they have a unique responsibility to their citizens. This report is one of the first deliverables of the new OECD horizontal project entitled Thriving with AI, Empowering Economies and Societies. Many more important products will come out from across the OECD in the months to come. So AI is one of the most transformative technologies of our time. It holds the potential to reshape and improve how public services are delivered, how policies are made, and how internal operations and oversight are conducted. This ultimately should help to strengthen citizen trust in government. Our report builds on knowledge accumulated by governments of thousands of use cases that exist in government around the world today. On our side, we have conducted more in-depth analysis on 200 cases across 11 government functions that cover 3 broad categories. The first category on the left-hand side of the slide is policy functions, representing how governments tax, spend, and regulate. The second category in the middle is key government processes, covering areas such as civil service administration, procurement, public integrity, auditing, citizens' participation, as well as policy evaluation. The third category on the right-hand side of the slide is government services and justice. These include the design and delivery of public services, effective law enforcement, and disaster risk management, as well as response, as well as also all justice processes. Our work shows that governments are already using AI to obtain a number of significant benefits. With AI, governments are most often seeking to automate, streamline, and tailor public services to make them more efficient and citizen-centered, which is a goal in 57% of the use cases we have analyzed. Examples here include the use of AI to support the drafting of legal decisions, or the use of AI virtual assistants to provide personalized support to citizens. In 45% of the cases, governments are using AI for better decision-making, sense-making, and forecasting. For example, governments are using AI to identify risk factors and predict natural disasters such as wildfires so that they can take preventive actions and put responses in place in advance. To a somewhat lesser extent, 30% of the cases aim to enhance accountability and anomaly detection to help strengthen integrity and prevent fraud and misuse of public resources. For example, many governments are using AI to identify suspicious tax filings to help uncover tax evasion. Finally, in a much smaller proportion of cases, about 4%, governments are unlocking opportunities for external stakeholders in new ways. In these cases, governments are not the only ones using their AI tools, but they are actually providing open access to government-developed systems to allow others to benefit from them. For example, Greece has built an AI system that makes scientific knowledge accessible to all through an AI-powered library of 50,000 publications. The impact of these use cases is not yet fully understood. For example, how much money or time these AI examples actually save. Nevertheless, the transformative potential of the use of AI by governments, once it is more mature, is really undeniable. When looking at the 11 government functions, our analysis finds that AI use cases are not evenly distributed across them. The greatest use is in public services, which is natural considering that it is a very large activity. Some of the items further down the list that you are seeing here are less represented because they are less common, more specialized activities. In justice administration, AI use is driven by pressing operational needs, especially regarding chronic backlogs. The immediate value added of the use of AI is thus very important. Some functions face particular challenges that hinder the use, such as stringent rules on access to data or complex regulatory environments. Conversely, civic participation, which involves governments reaching out to citizens to understand their opinions, has far fewer constraints because it involves obtaining public views on issues that are public by nature. Let me highlight a few examples here of AI in action in government. In Japan, for example, which is hosting us today, the digital agency piloted generative AI support tools to improve business operations. The purpose was to streamline and automate routine tasks in areas such as procurement, civic participation, and regulatory design, with the aim of reducing processing times and allowing staff to address more complex work. In Spain, the Ministry of Justice uses AI to speed up case management through automated document sorting, streamlining processing, and freeing up staff for more complex legal analysis. In Brazil, the Federal Court of Accounts, called TCU, developed ChatTCU, which is a generative AI tool which is offering auditors real-time access to case law, regulatory summaries, and administrative support. In India, AI supports real-time translation across 22 Indian languages in service delivery, fed by mass crowdsourcing exercise. These are just a few examples that we have in our report, but there are many more that you can have a look at. Yet, of course, achieving all the benefits of AI in government requires mitigating its risks. In using AI, governments face first ethical risks, where AI can infringe on rights and values such as privacy, fairness, and autonomy, particularly through biased data or lack of transparency. Past experience shows that failing to manage these risks properly can cause harm in the real world. In recent years, for example, there have been several instances in which faulty reasoning, driven by algorithmic results relying on skewed data, have wrongfully accused individuals for fraud or unpaid debts, causing really severe financial and family hardships. Along these ethical risks, governments must also manage operational risks. Technical failures, cybersecurity threats, and over-reliance on AI can compromise accuracy, service quality, and decision-making. Governments must also manage exclusion risks. Without inclusive design, AI could deepen digital divides and leave some groups unable to take advantage of AI's benefits. Think, for instance, very simply of the dominant representation of widely used languages, especially English, in generative AI. Such an imbalance can lead to lower quality results for governments or citizens that are using other languages. But public resistance is also a complex matter to manage, as poor communication can undermine public support for AI in government. The false accusations I mentioned earlier, resulting in public scandals that still contribute to distrust and resistance years later. And finally, and less often considered, the risks of inaction are also important. Delaying or avoiding AI adoption where it could add value can lead to missed opportunities and widen the capabilities gap between the public and the private sectors, and also further erode trust in government. Besides navigating risks, governments also face challenges when it comes to putting AI into practice. Many projects remain stuck in their pilot phase with limited progress towards broader adoption. Scaling up is thus the main operational challenge today. Shortages of in-house expertise and lack of skills are big, which hinders design oversight and also scaling up of AI. Governments struggle in some cases with poor data quality, siloed systems, and limited ability to share data across agencies or levels of government. There is also a lack of actionable direction with concrete guidance to staff in government on the use of AI. Governments also lack the frameworks to measure AI's value and return on investment, which undermines confidence in scaling and justification for funding, especially in a tight fiscal environment. Finally, public administrations often apply requirements across the board that are too restrictive rather than taking a risk-based approach or putting in place guidance for how to use AI instead of what not to do. In order to achieve the benefits while mitigating the risks and also overcoming implementation challenges, the report establishes a framework for trustworthy AI in government covering 3 pillars. The first pillar is the enablers. These are the building blocks needed to succeed. One example is establishing concrete guidance, such as the UK's AI Playbook for Government. This playbook lays out 10 principles for taking action on AI adoption, with details on choosing the right tools, leveraging data and infrastructure, collaborating with key stakeholders, building the right skills, and putting in place quality assurance processes. Another example of an enabler is the mechanisms established for experimenting and scaling AI, as can be seen in the French so-called Alliance, which is an AI incubator that accelerates AI adoption in government through rigorous yet agile approaches. The second pillar of our framework is the guardrails to guide the use of AI and ensure it is done in a trustworthy manner. For example, this can happen through the empowerment of oversight and advisory bodies to guide responsible AI, such as the Japan's AI Safety Institute. It can also happen through binding rules, such as the EU AI Act or recent policy in the United States on risk management practices for high risk or high impact AI. The third pillar is, of course, engagement, which involves engaging stakeholders, including the public, to ensure all relevant voices are heard and that the use of AI is trustworthy and meets their needs. For example, citizen assemblies represent engagement in action. Last year, Belgium held a citizen assembly where 60 randomly selected citizens formed a panel to discuss the future of AI in the EU and contribute to government decisions on the topic. In addition to these examples, the report that we launched last week includes dozens of other best practices across the categories of enablers, guardrails, and engagement. Let me finish by emphasizing that this report represents a new foundation for OECD work on this topic, which we are already working to build upon. You can go directly to a dedicated hub for AI in government on the OECD.ai Policy Observatory, which serves as a living resource center on the topic. On this hub, we will soon be launching a global data collection to identify additional AI use cases, policies, and hands-on implementation tools. We will also use the results to fuel a public knowledge and repository on AI in government. We very much look forward to seeing strong contributions and perspectives from Asia in this global effort. And of course, we'd be very, very ready to support a network or to support a specific page, a specific use cases repository at the regional level for Southeast Asia, if that was of interest to the different contributors today. Finally, we are also continuing to extend our work on AI in government. We are actively working on key topics such as approaches for governments for experimenting with generative AI, measuring impact and return on investments, agile procurement of AI solutions, addressing skills gaps in the civil service, and also new avenues for AI-enabled citizen participation, among other projects. We very much look forward to announcing more details on this in the coming months. As a final word, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Professor Shiroyama and the University of Tokyo for the continued collaboration with the OECD and for hosting this very important event. We're living through extraordinary times shaped by the rapid evolution of AI, and this makes our partnership much more relevant, if that can be much more relevant than in the past. I very much look forward to deepening our work together as we navigate these changes and explore new opportunities for innovation and impact. Thank you very much to all, and I hope all of this will be very relevant for you all today. The floor is back to you, Shikako.
はい、ピリチョースキー局長、ありがとうございました。OECD
Thank you, Ms. Pilichowski. And OECD has shown very strong leadership in the area of AI and governance, AI in government. We would like to know what is happening in Asian countries. By sharing that information, we would like to move forward together. Thank you so much. So let's move on to the second keynote presentation. We have Dr. Keegan McBride, Senior Policy Advisor at the Tony Blair Institute. Dr. McBride, I'd like to introduce Dr. McBride. Dr. Keegan McBride specializes in emerging technologies and geopolitics. He has conducted a range of research and has made policy recommendations on the use of AI and digital government interoperability, digital transformation in Estonia, and Internet Institute of Oxford University. He has been involved in teaching and research on AI and government. He is a very prominent researcher. Now I'd like to invite Dr. McBride. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Chikako. I'm very happy to be here. So I have about 15 minutes today to talk about sort of AI and the future state. I have a couple of slides. I'll try to run through them sort of within that 15-minute time slot. But I really want to cover sort of four main things. First, I want to put the current AI paradigm, in a historical perspective. I want to talk about how the current emerging AI paradigm differs from perhaps what it was even 5 years ago. I want to reiterate the importance of the foundations of digital government and how AI is not making those go away. And then I would like to sort of conclude with a few thoughts on what I think might be coming next. So to start off with, I have this slide on the timeline that tries to sort of go back in time and understand how governments have been transformed by technology. You could extend this timeline even further back. Realistically, technology and bureaucracy go hand in hand, kind of since the beginning. But we can kind of look and see maybe 3 or 4 main paradigms here. So the first one I would call perhaps just IT and government. It was about information management, knowledge systems. So you have the first introduction of computers in the 1950s and 60s, really early rules-based AI in the 1980s, then the internet in the 1990s. At the time in the United States, you had Vice President Al Gore, who talked about how the internet would basically allow the government to sort of fundamentally change how it worked from the ground up. And it kickstarted this really big conversation around, we could call it e-government, in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s. You have the widespread sort of proliferation of Web 2.0 in the 2000s. You have the massive uptake of cloud computing in the 2010s. Sometime around 2018, I want to say, there was this transition from calling it e-government into digital government. That has sort of coincided with the widespread availability of AI, amongst other things. I think another part of this was that e-government was sort of traditionally associated with technologies like the internet, or some definitions even mention Palm Pilots. And I think folks maybe perhaps thought it was a bit outdated. And now we're at this point where people are wondering what comes next. So some have talked about, perhaps this post-digital government, the personal state, and we'll get into some of that a little bit later on. So what are the drivers of public sector digitalization, and what's actually going on? There are a few different things. In many countries, there's a decreasing interest in the public sector as an employer, and many public sector organizations are defined by increasingly low budgets. At the same time, many government workers are expected to be more efficient and more effective because of the opportunities that technology offers. As users and citizens are getting used to using technology throughout all aspects of their lives, for example, in the private sector, there's this increased demand for digital delivery of public services. Sorry, I skipped to the end. We have more widespread diffusion of digital technologies. There's growing international pressure to digitalize. So organizations like the OECD, for example, are highlighting the importance of digitalization. COVID-19 really demonstrated that governments that were digital were actually able to operate more effectively and efficiently than those that were not. But there's something really weird that's happening where all of this, is going on. There's this pressure to digitalize, but polling seems to suggest that if you put digitalization next to a bunch of other priorities, such as agriculture or consumer protection, digitalization ranks pretty low. So for many governments, even though there's this demand and there is this pressure to do more, sometimes it can be hard to convince voters or to convince other policymakers on the importance of digitalization. In one conversation I had with a politician in a sort of small island jurisdiction, we were talking about the cost that was involved in their digitalization program. And they said that if they were to fund a boat or a highway, they could see it, they could touch it, they could drive on it or sail on it. But when it comes to digitalization, there was nothing tangible that they could sort of interact with or experience or understand. And I think there's a lot of that's going on. And the reason that I say this is because I think many of us on this call understand that AI is transformative and it is going to have an impact in how the government works. But for many sort of voters, for many policymakers, they might not have that same understanding. So looking back, if you go to the sort of early 2000s, there wasn't much research on AI in government. Around 2017, 2018, it started to pick up, and it's only taken off since then, and it continues to grow. So already back 6 years ago with the OECD, I helped co-author this report, Hello World, Artificial Intelligence and its Use in the Public Sector, which funnily enough, I think we mentioned ChatGPT 2 or 2.5 in it. And at the time, they were scared to release it because of the concerns and risks they thought that it might bring. But the point is that even in a short period of time, let's take 2019, so 6 years, the conversation around AI has transformed completely. If 5 or 6 years ago we were talking about fairly simplistic, statistical mechanisms like regression or decision trees or supervised and unsupervised learning, now we're talking much more about sort of general purpose AI as a general rule. But I think in terms of how I think about this, it's really that if governments are able to invest in the foundations and begin to implement AI across the public sector, they're going to have a lot of different opportunities. And I think the previous keynote speaker highlighted, many of the ways in which governments are taking advantage of AI and the benefits that they're getting as a result. It can be used to automate processes. It can be used to augment decision-making, improve public safety, transform public policymaking, deliberation, could enable higher levels of accessibility, and help governments reimagine digital public services. So one thing that I want to talk about is the current AI paradigm and kind of what we're seeing. So this picture is showing the amount of compute that is used to train the sort of largest, most capable models. And what we're seeing, at least over the past couple of years, is this rapid scaling in the amount of compute that's being used, but also in the capability of these models. So put very simply, AI is rapidly getting more capable, and the amounts of compute and energy that are being used to train these models is also growing fairly quickly. And as a result, we're also starting to see the price of actually using these models fall fairly rapidly. So even AI models that were released, a year or two ago, they might not be as capable as the ones that are released today, but they're already very good, and they're becoming incredibly cheap to use. The problem still remains fundamentally diffusion and adoption. There are huge amounts of opportunities that can already be sort of gained by using the models that we have today and the models that we had even 1-2 years ago. As adoption starts to pick up, I think the transformation is going to be quite intense, if I'm being honest. And we're seeing quite a lot of investment follow. So at the Tony Blair Institute, we did a report on the state of access to compute. And what we saw, at least in 2024, was almost 3 times the increase in processing power of the supercomputers in the top 500. We're seeing hundreds of billions of dollars being targeted towards AI infrastructure investment. I think McKinsey estimates that 5.2 trillion is likely to be spent on AI infrastructure in the next 5 to 10 years. But what we're also seeing is that these investments are really being driven by a handful of countries, perhaps 2. The United States and China stand out, but there are some others as well that are making significant investments. And that has really interesting implications. So if you think that AI is going to be transformative, and you think that the current AI scaling paradigm is going to continue, it means that many countries are going to be dependent on the models that are trained in 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 different countries. We already see that playing out. So this is a graph showing the total share of global compute in the world. The numbers are essentially that the United States has around 75% of the world's compute, China has 15%, and the rest of the world has about 10%. As investments continue to flow into AI infrastructure, those numbers are going to change pretty dramatically. And I think you can see here, for example, Japan's share has also been steadily decreasing. as US and China continue to invest. And so my colleagues at Oxford did some research looking into this on the actual global distribution of AI infrastructure. And what you'll see is that the world is kind of rapidly bifurcating between those that are reliant on US cloud infrastructure, those that are reliant on Chinese cloud infrastructure, and then a significant majority of countries that do not have any AI compute domestically. And once again, I think if you think that AI is going to play an important role in how governments operate, this starts to get really, really interesting. Now, I'll really briefly cover this slide in the next one. But as all of this is going on, governments are really interested in how do you regulate this technology. Given that many countries won't have the infrastructure themselves, what does this regulation actually look like? And I think Japan has been doing a really great job with things such as the G7 Hiroshima process. There's other international organizations like GPAI. But it's really one of the most important conversations that we see going on at the moment is how do governments actually use this technology? How do you regulate it? And which countries' regulations come to define the sort of way in which the world is thinking about this technology? And many governments are thinking about this. So this was a study by Brookings, and they looked at, I think, about 30 different AI strategies. And they identify a couple of categories that countries are thinking about. So data management, algorithmic management, AI governance, R&D capacity, industries, public services. And some countries are further along than others. I think Japan is actually doing quite a good job in terms of how they've been thinking about AI and the strategies that they have been developing. Chikako and I have had many a conversation on the situation in Japan, and it's great to see that there are so many people on this call and so many folks in Japan who are interested in this topic, both in the private and the public sector. So where are we actually heading to? I think at a high level, I think there's growing interest. The future state, which will probably have AI at its core, should be more human-centric. There's going to be the importance of trust and transparency, should probably be more accessible, automatic, proactive. And there's also this focus on well-being and happiness. A few years ago, we did a report with the Global Happiness Council that looked at the information society and the future of digital well-being, that talked about how one might build something like this. Now, because AI is growing in its capabilities, I think there are many people who like to say the foundations don't matter, we can just have AI do everything for us. And I think that's a mistake. So one point that I would really like to reiterate and make clear is that when it comes to building a digital government, the foundations absolutely still matter. And I think there are really three things that every government has to have to sort of succeed with its digital ambitions. One being data, one being interoperability, one being digital identity. And then you could build the services out over the top of it. So what might this future look like, taking a sort of very optimistic and perhaps longer oriented view? I think one would be that citizens could choose to interact with the public sector as much or as little as they wanted to, in whichever medium and language they preferred. So you could think about a citizen having an AI agent that automatically updates data to the public sector after they've given consent, and that would require no further interaction. But you could also think that if at the moment, for example, I was to move to Japan and I had to engage with the public sector in Japanese, there's a real opportunity for AI to open up this process and make it more accessible by allowing me to engage with it in English, or maybe I need to do something in writing. AI could help me, for example, use different sort of mediums for that engagement. We might also start seeing more combination of personal data from both private and government sources that allows enhanced personalization of services. You could think about this in the context of maybe if I have a Fitbit or a smartwatch, I could combine my data with the health information system and be provided with proactive recommendations. We might also see governments continuously learning about their citizens and communication styles. to sort of communicate with them better and offer them more personalized decisions and more personalized services. To sort of wrap up, and I think I've gone about a minute over, so my apologies here. I think a few concluding thoughts. One being that governments are collecting a large amount of data and digital information on their citizens. This was already happening before AI, but it's going to become even more common with AI. These data will absolutely help run the state more effectively and efficiently than ever before. But it's also creating a movement towards a state that is increasingly statistical or data-based, where individuals are more like data points or rows in a spreadsheet rather than a human. I think that because the state is becoming more digital, more technical, more statistical in nature, the application of AI is inevitable. Like it will happen. Most governments are really not ready for what's coming. I do think that an AI-driven public sector will bring citizens closer to their governments than ever before, with services being delivered digitally and proactively. But at the same time, with decreased in-person contact, perhaps this separates the citizen from the public sector, making the system somehow feel more distant. I think really taken together, there are serious implications for how we understand state, government, and society. But thank you very much for listening. That's all I had. And I'm looking forward to the panel discussion and talking through some of these issues. And thank you again, Chikako.
はい。マクブライド博士、大変貴重なお話をありがとうございます。
Thank you very
マ
much,
クブライド博士とはですね、
Dr.
私
McBride.
もいつも困った時や知りたいことがある
Well,
と意
when
見を交換させていただいて
we often exchange opinions, and he helps me understand better the AI government in Asia seems to be a topic of his interest also. So I hope that we should be able to have a deep discussion during the panel session. Okay, let's move on to the panel discussion, session 1. After the panel session, after the discussion by the panelists, we'd like to take questions from the audience. So please take advantage of our Q&A box if you would like to ask any questions. And implication of governing with AI is the theme of the panel discussion 1. And first, we have Professor Keegan McBride from Tony Blair Institute to be joining this panel discussion. And we will also receive the participation from Mr. Jamie Berry-Hill from OECD. Hello, Jamie. Jamie is looking at AI e-government at OECD Public Governance Bureau, and he has been leading the preparation of the report, and at the observatory, he has been responsible for doing the research on the AI policies and governance in different countries. And he also worked at ONB, working as the policy person for USCIO, and we really appreciate his participation. We would like to ask Professor Shiroyama from Tokyo University to moderate this panel session. Professor Shiroyama, when you're ready, please take the floor. All right, then. Why don't we start the panel discussion 1? And maybe we should first start with some discussion for 20 minutes. Sorry, I didn't turn my camera on first. And well, thank you for your participation, Jamie and Keegan. And the theme is the implication of governing AI. So we'd like to talk about the earlier discussion. Well, Dr. McBride has given us a insight from a very broader perspective, and that has been very interesting. So maybe we will dig deeper into this topic later. But anyway, the main part of this discussion is how AI, what are the best ways to implement AI governance here? What are the policies? What are the collaboration that we can use? That will be the major theme. So I think we could start from your opinion on what we can use to effectively implement AI in governance in Asia. According to OECD report, we saw 200 specific use cases being analyzed, and it seems that we already understand there are diverse areas. Some of the areas already high in usage, other areas not usage high, and there are some differentiated usage in the regions and also in the functions. When you have a global perspective, you may want to pay attention to Japan, Singapore, and Indonesia, which will be part of the panel 2 session. And maybe what is the characteristics you have identified in OECD report? What would be the opportunity for collaboration? I'd like to ask this question to Mr. Berryhill later, after I talk about the question to Mr. Professor McBride. Has been a very interesting discussion, and you have shared a shocking information. The U.S. is the largest part, and in terms of the calculated capacity, and next is China, and Japan takes a smaller portion. So in terms of calculation computing capacity, I think there is this particular dominance in a couple of countries, but what other countries can do with a limited the calculation capacity is a very interesting topic. Hiroshima AI process, you have made a positive remark about the achievement that Japan has made in that framework. There are huge giant players, and what other players can do working with these mega players. I know that you have give us some suggestions, but if you can share with us your opinions on what the smaller players can do, we would appreciate it. All right, so that's the discussion we'd like to have. But if Mr. Berryhill can share with us about the OECD perspective, and then Professor McBride can share with us your perspective, we would appreciate it. So Mr. Berryhill, would you like to kick off?
Sure. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. And Keegan, it's good to see you. We had the opportunity to work together on the 2019 report on AI and government, and it's come a long way. But I think some of the foundational pieces are still really relevant. So from our perspective, as Elsa touched on in her remarks, with our framework for trustworthy AI in government, we really see the kind of 3 pillars of what we believe governments are most important to be putting into effect. So the enablers to facilitate trustworthy adoption in government, including the governance, the data, the digital infrastructure and compute, depending on what approaches you're using, like as Keegan mentioned, skills, financial investments, and procurement processes, along with capacities to partner with non-governmental actors. So that's on the enabler side, to really facilitate the adoption. And then the guardrail side to make sure things are staying on track. So that includes the rules and policies, whether binding or non-binding. The OECD AI principles being an example of the non-binding guardrails, but increasingly things like the Korea AI Basic Act serving as more binding guardrails for when it comes into effect, to help reinforce trustworthy adoption. So we want to see the adoption, but we just want to make sure it's done in a trustworthy way. And finally, the third pillar that Elsa touched on that we find important on engagement approaches to shape user-centered and responsive design. So making sure that all voices are heard, whether it's the general public to civil servants, trade unions, social partners, connecting local and national levels of government, and what we do here at the OECD, which is engagement across borders, are all very important. When it comes to Asia, I think some of the most important things will be to bring together the top-down approaches with the bottom-up approaches. So in terms of top-down, we've seen a lot of leadership in the region with AI already when it comes to, of course, the Hiroshima AI process, which we were engaged with Japan quite a lot on during the G7 presidency, leadership through Korea's Basic AI Act and the hosting of the Seoul Summit. But there seems to be a lot of room for a stronger emphasis when it comes to AI, specifically in the public sector. So its implications and use for and by governments for things like citizen services. So there's a leadership aspect that we would love to see even further developed specifically on AI and government. We see some countries in the area putting a lot of focus in here. I'd say Singapore, for example, is excelling a bit in providing that kind of top-down demonstration of leadership and kind of clearing a path for how to go about adopting AI with its GovTech office and suite of tools and digital public infrastructure for public servants. So that's where we would see a good opportunity, is a lot of emphasis in providing guidance from the top on how to adopt trustworthy AI and not always so much on what not to do, which is a balance that we are trying to move a little bit across the OECD countries and the governments that we work with. And then I'd say the second thing that we find to be really important and would recommend as working on as a priority is reinforcing AI goals from the bottom up. So and the main two items here to me, I think, are building skills, which was the number one problem that we saw in the report that Elsa presented on, was even more problematic than data challenges, which were probably number two, was the skills gaps. So this implies different skills profiles at different roles, ranging from AI specialists, which we often think about, both from a technical standpoint as well as specialists in procurement and law and things like that, but then also ranging to general users, which often is less the focus. So things that will increasingly be relevant to practically everyone in government, engaging with AI, understanding and interpreting its outputs, knowing where your role lies in applying those outputs or judging those outputs. So we really see that. So different skill profiles for different roles, and then also different skill profiles for different AI approaches. So, buying everybody licenses for Copilot is going to be a different skill set than doing custom hosting of open source large language models or fully custom trained and developed systems as well. So we're embarking on a line of work around that. Would love to learn from countries in the region. And then the second piece being building room for experimentation. So having room to test AI systems in a controlled environment. We're doing a big piece right now on looking at AI experimentation. We found 14 countries, which we thought we'd have more, 14 countries with experimentation guidelines. But only 2 of these are in the region. So we have guidelines from Japan and Singapore, which are really fantastic, and would love to see more intentional experimentation with AI to learn lessons and to hopefully identify and scale up successes. Globally, so not just in the region, another area where we see a big challenge that we want to work together on addressing is measuring impact and determining kind of the return on investments and benefits realization, and to justify more investment, to know what's working and what's not working. We found over 4,000 pilots as part of this work that we were doing that Elsa presented on, but very limited scaled up successes. So those are some areas we'd recommend enhanced focus, and including areas where we're going to be working on further and would love to collaborate on those ideas. So I think that's it from that question from me.
はい、どうもありがとうございました。それではマクブライドさん。
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask Dr. McBride to share your comments.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Jamie, as well. It's been a while. I think one thing that I think is quite important is to start with articulating what you actually want to get out of AI before you start doing it. There is this sort of weird thing that's happening all around the world where policymakers here, they have to use AI, and therefore they want to throw it at every single problem that they have. And I think that's a mistake. And what I have yet to see, and this includes from countries that are leading at the frontier of AI, is a really clear articulation of what exactly, sort of AI first or an AI-enabled government actually looks like. And what you will also see is that many countries that are at the frontier of building out these systems are actually doing quite poorly when it comes to their digital services that they offer as well. So I think there's a huge opportunity still for many countries to really show the world on what's possible with this technology, not just for the sake of the technology itself, but to kind of hint at what Jamie was saying is like, what are the benefits? What can you do with this? How can you use it to improve lives? And I think that there are a number of interesting case studies, but there's still a lot of opportunity to demonstrate this potential. And this is actually one area where I think smaller states can do quite well. So we've talked about Singapore. I would also throw Estonia in. I'm biased because I lived there for about 10 years and so I speak the language. But it's not an accident that a country of 1.3 million has countries as big as India and China coming there to try to understand what's possible. And I think this is what we're starting to see, is that there's a growing competition, or at least a growing opportunity for states that might not be sort of AI superpowers per se, but they're able to move fast, they're able to lead by example, they're able to experiment, they're able to show what's possible. And in doing so, they have other countries who are able to come to them and to learn. Now, I think a few caveats to perhaps mention here. One is that in this sort of chase to only use AI for all of these problems, there's this sort of overemphasis on only using frontier AI systems. And I think one thing that's really important to stress is that there's a whole lot of tools that you can use to sort of get value from technology when you're building a sort of more digital state. Yes, frontier AI systems might have a role in many aspects, but you can also get significant advantages by using smaller models, by using other statistical techniques. You could be looking at things like robotic process automation still. How you put these different components together into a system to meet the sort of end goal that you want is really, really important. And then just on the final point, because I was asked about sort of compute capacity and this growing competition in that regard, I think the worst thing that countries could do is all start trying to build out loads of infrastructure themselves and spending tons of money on this stuff, which, to be honest, they won't be able to compete in the long run, just because of how much is being spent and how many resources are required. Realistically, sort of AI sovereignty is not so much a binary in the sense that you are or you're not, but it's more of a hybrid scenario. I think at TBI we're currently thinking about this by looking at the AI stack and trying to understand how countries can position themselves to take advantage of AI based on their specific strengths. So we can think about, I think, maybe 7 different parts of the AI stack. So you could look at energy, you could look at the models themselves, you could look at data, you could look at compute, you could look at governance, you could look at the talent, and you could look at the applications. And some countries will have lots of talent, and that will make them a great place for building applications that can, for example, transform government. Other places might have a lot of renewable energy that makes them an attractive place to build data centers. Some countries might be really adept at sort of working to build governing coalitions around this technology. And I think this is maybe something that the policymakers should be thinking about, which is, what are our country's strengths? How can we play to our advantages? And in doing so, how can we sort of attract value and investment in the process so that we can start moving us towards this end state of building an AI powered government that's, responsive to citizen needs, more effective, delivering value, improving well-being, but not just doing AI for the sake of doing AI.
はい、どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you so
山
much.
先生、すみません。司会の増田です。
Professor Surema, this is Masda speaking.
すみません。大変盛り上がっていて、
Sorry that
ス
you
ピーカーが入っ
have
てですね、ちょっと
had
通訳者様が少しだ
intensive
けゆっくり
discussion.
喋っていただけるということですので、よろしくお願いします。
However, we'd like to ask the
私が
panelists
ゆっくり
to
喋れば
slow
いいです
down
か、それともお二人
the
にお願い
pace.
して
そうですね。
いいですか。
ベリーヒルさんとマクブライド
Mr. Berry
博士、
Hill
すみません。
and
よろ
Dr.
しくお願いい
McBride,
たし
if
ま
you
す。
could slow down your speaking pace a
すい
little
ませ
bit
ん、
for
なん
the
かちょっと
sake of
通訳
translation.
が少しスピードに追いつけてないようなの
It
で、
looks like
少
the
しゆっくりめに
interpreters
お
are
話しいただ
not
くとあり
keeping
がた
up.
いと思います。
So if you
私も
could
少し
slow
ゆっ
down
くりめに
your
話したい
pace,
と
I
思い
will
ます。
slow down as
はい。
well.
お二人にお答えいただいて、別の観点からお答えいただ
So
いたん
thank
です
you
けども、
for
重な
responding
っているところ
to
があるなという感じ
two
がいたし
different
ます。
questions, but I think
AI
what
を
you
使ってい
replied
くという、
is
特にボ
overlapped
トムアップ
in
の
using
観点
AI,
でうまく使っ
especially
ていく
from
と、
the
そのスキ
bottom
ルっ
up
ていうのが大事だってい
approach.
うのが、
Skills will
ベリー
be
ヒルさんのお
important.
話だったと思いますし、
Skill
マク
gap
ブライ
has
ド
to
さんのお
be
話も、
closed, as Mr.
なんていうん
Berry
です
Hill
か、技
said.
術のための
And
技術で
Dr.
はなく
McBride
て、
said
い
it's
ろんな
not
技術はいろんな目的の
AI
ため
for
に使える
AI.
ので、
AI
その
should
そ
be
れぞれ
used
の
for
利用目的、
different
それからどういうバリュ
applications
ー
depending
を
on
生
what
み出
you
したいのかっ
need,
て
the
いうのがあ
value
る
that
の
you
で、
want,
そのいろんな技術を組み合わ
depending
せて、
on
な
the
んかそういう
purpose
コンビネーションとか
usage. You
設計の能
can
力
think
みたいなの
about
が大事だっていうお
combining
話
AI with something
が
else.
大事
There
な
are
のか
other
なと思いま
technical
す。今日の
alternatives
こ
as
れのテ
well.
ーマだなと思います。
I think
で、
both are very
なんか
important
それとも
themes.
関連しないことはないんですけども、もう一つだ
And
け
in relation
この
to
質問をちょ
that,
っとお
I'd
伺い
like
したいん
to
ですけ
give
れど
you
も、
a common question to both of
多
you.
分いずれのご報告にも出てきたと思うんですけども、
I
まあ
think
その AI
this
が
was
まあその
included in the
フュ
report.
ーチャーステートっていうのを考えたとき
So
に、
when you think
そ
of
の政
the
府と市民の間の関
AI
係
back to
をどういう
future
ふうに変え
state,
ていくのかっていう
how
ところ
would
が私の
AI
面白
change
い
the
重要な論
relationships
点かな
between
と
the
思います。
government
まあ
and
その次に
citizens?
例えば
I
マッ
think
クブラ
this
イド
is an
さんの最後
interesting
のところで最初のプレゼンテーションでです
question.
ね、 ま
Dr.
あ両
McBride,
方
toward
の
the
可
end
能
of your
性があるっていうことを言
presentation,
われたかと
said
思い
there
ます。
are
一方で
two
は、ま
possible
あ、データ
results,
をす
positive
ご
and
く
negative.
活用することによっ
By
て、
utilizing
そ
a
の
lot
シ
of
ティズンの、まあ、
data,
ステートにいろんな
citizens
パーソナライズされた形でいろんな
will be able to receive more
インタラ
personalized
クションができるようになるっていう
public
まあ側
services.
面と同時に、場合によっては
It's a
むしろ、
positive
まあ、
side,
政府
but in
と市
some
民が、まあ、
cases,
距離を取られてし
there
まう
may
可能
be
性
a
があると
bigger
いう、まあ、そ
distance
ういう双方の
between
可能性があるっ
the
ていう
public,
話
the
だった
government,
と思い
and
ま
the
すが、
citizens.
まあ、そうい
There
う
are
中で、
two
まあ、それをうまくこう一緒に
possibilities,
生かしていこうという
but
ことですね。どういう
we
ふうな
would
ことを
like
した
to
らいいの
pave
か
the way
です
to
ね。
enjoy
マク
a
ブライドさん
positive
のお
impact.
話だ
What
と、
can we do
両
to
方の可能
ensure
性
a
があるっていうと
positive
ころに、
outcome
まあ、市民
of
と政
AI?
府との関係を、
When you
まあ、より結
focus
ぶ
on
形で
relations between the government and
生かしていくた
citizens,
めには、まあ、どういうことをしたらいいのかっ
what
ていう
can
こ
we
と
do
があ
to
ると
make
思い
it a
ます。
positive
まあ、これは多分
outcome?
ベリーヒルさんのお話の中で
Uh,
も、
as
まあ、そ
Berry Hill, Mr.
の、
Berry Hill
まあ、
said
政府の側のス
in
キ
your
ルの話も
comments,
されましたけれども、
you
まあ、ユー
talked
ザー
about
スキ
the
ルというお
government
話も
skills,
され
but
ていて、まあ、そうい
as
った
well
ものを
as
同時に
users'
組み合わせるこ
skills.
とによって、なんかその適切なその政府と市民の関
To
係に、
combining
まあ、
different
AI
skills,
の
we
活用って
will
のはし
be
するよう
able
にな
to
るのか
design an
っていう、まあ、
appropriate
ちょっとそのあたり一つ
relationship
重要な
between
論点
the
かなと
government
思いま
and
す
the
が、
citizens.
まあ、ちょっとこ
AI
のあた
can
りに
play
つ
a
い
role
てちょっと
there.
コメントいただけれ
So
ばな
I'd
と
like to
思いま
invite
す。
both of you to
で
make a
は逆
comment
に
in
最
this
初マックブ
area,
ライドさんの方か
starting
ら
with
お
Dr.
答えいただい
McBride
て、その
first
後
this
ベリーヒ
time,
ルさんの方か
and
ら
then
お答えいた
Mr.
だけ
Berry
れば
Hill,
と思いますが、い
please.
かがでしょうか。
Thank you very much for the question. I will try to speak slower. Feel free to interrupt if I go too fast. I'll keep it short. I think really a lot of what this comes down to is trust. And do citizens trust the government? Do they trust the decisions? But what we've also seen, and I think OECD polling supports this, but I'm sure Jamie will correct me if I'm wrong, is that one of the most important things for trust is actually delivering. Citizens want services to work. So if you want to have this positive relationship and you're using AI to deliver services, they have to work. One of the worst things that you could do is rush to use the technology, not have a clear plan, and build something that doesn't work. Things that could help prevent that from happening, I think one of the most important is transparency. So citizens need to be able to understand what data the government has, how it's being used. To give an example, in Estonia, they have a system called the data tracker, which shows any time a government organization has looked at my data. And if I don't know why they have looked at it, I can send a request and they have to respond to it. So this approach to openness and transparency, I think, is incredibly important. And I think maybe one more thing, and then I'll pass it over to Jamie, is the importance of consent as well. So allowing citizens to be able to have more control over their data and be able to opt in to, for example, better services that leverage their data. And I think there's a growing number of increasing examples of how that works. Then I would hand it over to Jamie to hear his thoughts.
はい、じゃあベリヒルさんお願いします。
Sure. Thanks, Keegan. So I would really echo the need for the services to work, and they need to work well. So in the report that Elsa had presented, we mentioned that we identified thousands of use cases, and we did a deep exploration of 200 of these different use cases. And all the time that I've been working on the subject of AI in government, we've looked at many different examples, and I think that there's been maybe 3 or 4 real scandals, and that has to do with most of the time people being falsely accused of fraud or owing undue debts, or AI being used in ways that target minorities for harsher sentencing in criminal justice or something, for example. And those scandals, most of which happened many years ago or several years ago, are still of global reference, and they are something that really slows things down, where you had something that happened 7 or 8 years ago in one country and then is still a topic of debate in other countries around the world that prevents adoption from happening. So I 100% agree that it's critical that the services and things that you use AI in have to work, and they have to work well and transparently. And as I touched on, and I won't really dig too much farther into it, but also involve heavy engagement with people who would potentially be impacted by these services. I do think trust is a huge issue, as Keegan mentioned, and I think our data at the OECD shows that less than half of people trust their government. I think it's about 39 or 40%, if I recall. So it is important to do these things well in a transparent way that involves the voices of the people affected. In terms of the long term, the changing of relationships, or the enhancement of relationships with government and citizens, I do think that there's tremendous potential for AI there. Though sometimes I wonder if we have the wrong emphasis on it. So usually when I kind of hear some of these panels and people talking about the potential for AI, it's about proactive and anticipatory services, leveraging large amounts of citizen data. And I do think that is a great area of potential, and I do think citizens should be given things in advance before they need to ask for them. But I also think, especially on the trust aspect, that it's really important that we don't, that we're not proactive to the point as governments that we're invisible, and that citizens don't realize that governments are behind the well-functioning of the services that they're getting, because that can reduce trust, I believe, as well, where if you don't understand that you're getting a service at all, and you don't understand that the government is behind that service, then you're less likely to appreciate and credit the government for getting the job done right. So I hope that we do get to a point where we have anticipatory proactive services, but we're doing it in a way where we're engaging with the users, and we're and have good public communications about the services and the AI behind them and how it functions. So we're not invisible and don't kind of disappear from the public mindset. So the government should always know when government's acting and on what basis we're acting, and how to opt out or appeal if you want. and also for citizens to be aware of the services government is providing. So I think that this combination of things, services that work well and a government that's not too obtrusive, but also isn't totally invisible, is really important for building these strong relationships.
はい、どうもありがとうございました。ユーザーが、欲する、
Thank you very much.
提供するっていうこと
So the providing the functional service that user needs, and then not to be too productive or too invisible. And these are the very important aspects to cultivate the trust between citizens and the government. So thank you very much. And the time is running out. We have a lot to ask, but maybe I should stop asking the question. Masuda-san, if you would like to take any questions from the participant, the audience of this seminar.
いかがでしょうか。
はい、ありがとうございます。
Yes, thank you.
いくつかいただいております。
There are several questions being asked, so but unfortunately we have limited time, so only I will pick up some a few questions. Maybe this question will be for both of you. The distance between government and the citizen, or the trust building when AI is used in do you see any difference depending on the regions, the Europe and North America and Asia? Maybe Dr. McBride can start answering the question first.
In a word, yes. I think there are huge regional and contextual factors at play, and also the legal tradition also has a fairly big impact. In the essence of time, I probably won't go too much into detail, but certainly you can see big differences between countries that are more collective and more society oriented, and those that are more sort of individualistic. To give a really clear example, in like the United States, the UK, Australia, I would say they're more individualistic, and so they have a much harder time, for example, using data, exchanging data, doing digital identity programs than perhaps other countries, or for example, the European Union, which has an interoperable digital identity across the entirety of every member state. So we do see these differences. They do matter, and they absolutely impact the systems that can be built.
ありがとうございます。では次の質問。
Thank you very much. Maybe I will ask Mr. Berryhill to ask the next question. The usage of Gen AI in Japan is still low. Only 25% of the business organizations used, compared to US and China, which has over 60% of utilization. There's a difference that's big. Why is this difference? Should the policymaker promote the adoption more, or it's not a problem at this point?
Sure, I know mostly specific to government, and I wouldn't be surprised if those numbers are higher in both of those areas than you might think. We're seeing a lot of usage of AI that is beyond the kind of the traditional and approved means. But no, I do think it's important if policymakers want to be pursuing this more, they really need to set the right tone and make sure that it's a permissible thing and that it's an encouraged thing to be doing. And then also providing the right kind of information and guidance about how public servants can be using the technology and in which ways. Because if there's a lot of guesswork or a lot of potential risks in using it because you don't know the right way, that will either prevent things from going forward, and it will kind of stop things completely, or it'll lead to secret use of these tools in ways that may be inappropriate, or that could go against what the organization and the government wants. So from the top-down perspective, it really is an important leadership step to be promoting the adoption of these and providing the parameters in which they can be used. At the OECD, for example, we're encouraged to use generative AI for brainstorming and potential initial outlining and that type of stuff. But certain things like image generation, we're not quite there yet because we don't know a lot of the intellectual property repercussions are there. So we know our parameters and we feel free to use it. And if we didn't have that, then I think we'd see less use or more secretive use.
ありがとうございます。白山先生、ではお時間が。
Thank you very much. Since we are running out of our time, we would like to close this panel discussion for now. Yes, we'd like to conclude panel discussion 1. Mr. Dario and Dr. McBride, thank you very much.
お二人ともありがとうございました。
Thank you, both of you.
では早速ですけれども。
So without further ado, we'd like to move on to panel discussion number 2. In this second panel discussion, we'll be looking at AI in the public sector in Asia towards regional collaboration. This is the theme for this panel discussion. We have 3 practitioners and academics from 3 countries. First, we have Chief Officer of Digital Agency of Japan, Asanuma Takeshi, is with us. Thank you. He is the Chief Officer of the Digital Agency, leading the digital transformation of the government services and promoting user-centric service design. Thank you very much for joining us. I know you are a very busy person. Also, from Singapore, we have Professor Dr. Lawrence Chu from the National University of Singapore. As the Director of AI Innovation at AI Singapore, Dr. Liu is promoting the National AI Program to connect industry and academia, as well as AI talent development programs. I'm pretty sure everyone's interested in what's happening in Singapore. We're looking forward to what you have to say. Thank you. Also, lastly, the third panelist. One of the most active countries in Asia from Indonesia, we have Mr. Pandu Kautika Putra. He is a special advisor for digital transformation to the minister. So, Mr. Putra, thank you for joining us today. Local government, national government, and you're actually working with different levels of government to promote digital transformation. So the moderator once again is Professor Shiroyama from the Tokyo University of Tokyo. So Professor Shiroyama, please go on. Thank you. So in this session, in the beginning, I'd like to ask each speaker to give us about 10-minute presentation, respectively, and then I'd like to pose common questions to all the 3 panelists. So in this order, starting with Japan, so I'd like to invite Mr. Asanuma to begin. Can you see the slides? Thank you once again for inviting me. I'm the Chief Officer of Digital Agency. My name is Asanuma. And thank you once again for inviting me to this wonderful panel discussion. On AI, we have this opportunity to have dialogue with Asian officers. This is a very valuable opportunity. We'd like to take this opportunity so that we can take a step forward for further digital transformation. So digital agency for the past several years have been engaged in digital transformation of the government, and we have already enjoyed very positive results. And we would like to go beyond digital transformation. We would like to go ahead with transforming a whole society with the digital technology. Of course, AI is going to play a central role. Today, I want to talk about government AI, that is the AI foundation of the government, and AI governance, and AI-based organizational reform, as well as collaboration with other Asian countries. First, I'd like to examine where we stand today in Japan. For the past 4 years, since the beginning of digital agency, we have had positive results. My number card or individual digital identification has been used by about 80% of the population. And the administrative procedures, thanks to digitalization, have been improved. Many people take it for granted to have access to these procedures. What used to be analog, the regulations and laws are now being revisited and redefined. And also in terms of national level and local level, the central government is working with the local government to build the common platform, and we have made a substantial progress. And we believe that we have already brought visible changes in citizens' daily lives. But on the other hand, if you look at the digital transformation, we have problems like depopulation, the lack of labor, and we have to solve these problems with digital technologies. In terms of industrial competitiveness, we need to strengthen as the national power so that Japan will be able to lead in many industrial areas. And also, we have to be prepared to tackle with cyber attacks. We need to be solidly prepared for a possible cyber attack, and we need to deal with the aging infrastructure that we have in Japan. And we still have many structural problems in terms of digital human resource development. With Gen AI, we have seen technology development at a rapid pace, and we do see changing geopolitical situation, meaning that we have to have high quality and productivity of the government services. Both are necessary. So based on what we have done in terms of digital transformation in the government, I'd like to expand the scope so that we will be able to transform the whole society. Especially, we would like to maximize the use of AI. Eventually, we want to turn Japan into a AI-friendly nation. From policy ideas to implementation, we would like to utilize AI throughout the process. In other words, using AI and enhancing trusts, both of these need to be achieved at the same time. That is the basic stance of Japanese government. So for specific plans, we have Trinity reforms, which include institutional, operational, and system reforms. And we will be able to introduce advanced technologies, including AI, spread the use throughout the society. To that end, we have to make sure AI is easy to use. And thirdly, for companies to be able to grow, data should be utilized more effectively. So data usage foundation platform should be created for common usage. And at the same time, for everyone to be able to use digital technology safely and securely. Obviously, we have to have development of human resources as well as organizations.
Next, I would like to discuss the utilization of AI in the public sector. In order to accelerate the use of AI in the society, the government itself have to take an initiative to implement and adopt AI itself. Conventionally, we have been using AI in the network layer or government solution service. The introduction of a common government layer was one thing, and the cloud layer commonization is another thing, and government solution is another thing. And we are adding the AI infrastructure to be introduced and implemented in government AI. Network, cloud, AI, these three layers will be covered by the government AI, the entire three areas would be covered as one government solution service as a new digital foundation. So that and our strategy is to establish the environment where it can be utilized, reused by other institutions. More specifically, one thinks about government AI is that the data owned by the government would be developed for the ease of utilization and create the rules so that the data and infrastructure can be deployed to the government and the local government. And thirdly, they're not limited to the central government. We would like to introduce the government AI scheme to the local government. In the digital agency, we are going to establish the expert team responsible for the internal development, and we would run the cycle from the implementation to the improvement. In order to foster this strength, we have to design a trustable governance scheme. Chief AI Officer will be introduced in different agencies and ministries so that these people can monitor and promote the initiative and also manage the risk. At the same time, advanced AI utilization advisory board will be available to provide support in the high risk issues and share the best practices so that the entire government can promote the effective and safe AI utilization. The initial meeting was held this month, and we have this cross-government institutional AI initiative was set to get started. AI implementation and trustable AI governance will be the two pillars of our AI initiative. Moving on, let's talk about the organizational change. In order for the government and the public sectors to be able to use AI effectively, the organization must change. The digital agency is aiming at the organization that maximizes the use of AI and data. In particular, AI data is used for the public policy building and service delivery and organizational change that would have to be standard practice. In each process of the policy development and service delivery, organizational change, we are going to use AI and data. We will prepare the dashboard for the faster the process implementation. In order to change ourselves to the AI effective organization, the common infrastructure of the government needs to be established and utilized. The network infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, and the Gen AI infrastructure will be commonized for the promotion of AI utilization. Let's go into more specifics. We already have the policy dashboards and organizational data dashboards available. At the same time, the dashboard to share the utilization of Gen AI will be launching. With this, EBPM can be promoted on the practitioner level. The culture is now being cultivated. As for the dashboard, within the we don't limit the usage to the administration. This serves as a contact point to nurture the trust with the citizens. Over 1,000 people in the digital agency are using Gen AI on a daily basis, supporting translation and document creation. Gen AI is already fully utilized for the day-to-day work. When digital agency employees are using Gen AI, we can also engage ourselves in the better utilization and improvement. In terms of the policy dashboards, we are working with different agencies, government agencies. There are already over 16, actually 16 dashboards that are publicized. In September, we worked with the Cabinet Office and publicized what's called Japan Dashboard, which is the policy dashboard. So this activity is not limited. The EBPM is not limited to the government agencies and the ministries, but now Cabinet Office is also part of this scheme. And data utilization within the organization in the last 4 years have developed very much. The HR, accounting, and back office works are now managed in this dashboard. So part of the routine work already. The objective is very clear in implementing the reform in the organization. Implementation analysis improvement service cycle has to be complete in the units of weeks or months instead of years. By accelerating this cycle, the capability and the scheme to accelerate this cycle, we would be able to enhance the policy function and internal development. And we believe this is what we are being asked to realize in our role. For the last 4 years, our mission has been always the human-friendly digitalization, no one left behind. And we have been working with the many stakeholders and produce some outcomes, but we are only beginning this process. And this administrative digital reform will be the foundation for the social digital reform. And we are aiming at becoming the AI-friendly nation. In order to achieve that, we would like to update our organization, and we will work with different stakeholders, not just updating our organization at the digital agency. We not just simply updating what we do, we would like to evolve ourselves so that we will become the administrative organization that utilize the data fully. The society, AI implementation, and also the promotion of the trustable AI would require the close the collaboration with the stakeholders, use case sharing, and the cross-referencing of the experiences, and the AI development, infrastructure sharing, and AI service promotion. There are a lot of things we can still do with other stakeholders. So AI utilization and AI governance design. In terms of those themes, we would like to play play a central role in this area of the regions of this Asia. So we really appreciate your future cooperation. Thank you very much, Mr. Asanuma.
So now I'd like to go to Singapore. Dr. Liu from AI Singapore, please.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my slides. So, good afternoon and evening. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Lawrence. I'm the Director for AI Innovation in AI Singapore. And my presentation will be slightly different. Will come more from a grounds up approach where we talk about the outcome of some of Singapore's AI strategy. So AI Singapore was actually started even before Singapore had our first national AI strategy. It was launched by the National Research Foundation back in May 2017, and our mission was to build a deep capabilities in AI, create social economic impacts, to grow the local talent in terms of research at the time, and to accelerate the AI ecosystem. So my very first objective or KPI given to me was to do 100 AI projects with the industry. So AI Singapore was formed as a way to tie three parts of the ecosystem together: the government, the industry, and the academia, very closely together, what we call a tripartite partnership. And in AI Singapore, we have today 6 pillars. It started with only 3. Research, where we fund professors to do research in AI; technology, where the researchers, professors solve national level problem statements; and AI innovation, my pillar, which is to, like I mentioned, to accelerate AI adoption in the industry. But in trying to do that, we also had to create a lot of new programs that was not envisaged when AI Singapore was started at the time. Later on in AI Singapore Phase 2, we introduced AI products, where we built AI's open source AI solutions for the industry. AI governance, a very important piece, where they lend thought leaderships around AI ethics and governance. And finally, the newest pillar that was just launched about a month ago, Learn AI, which is actually a spin-off from AI innovation, which is all about getting getting professionals to onboard to become AI proficient, or what we call AI ready. And they also focus on the students. So just to explain what it means by grounds up, in AI Singapore, one of our focus is really how do we get companies to start using AI? And this is just a snapshot of the examples of companies that we have helped since 2017. And every one of them actually has an AI project that we have done with them, typically within 6 to 7 months or shorter, and it's been deployed into production. So we're not talking about a PowerPoint slide. We're not talking about a simple Jupyter notebook. We're talking about real-world production code that goes into production. We have done it for healthcare, example in dental charting, where we use AI to determine the state of the teeth for a local SME. And in fact, this is actually now live in more than 150 clinics throughout the region, including Indonesia and China. We have helped our civil defense call centers to do a speech-to-text transcription that can understand Singapore's version of Singlish a little bit better. Another major project with the healthcare was to detect a very specific form of breast tumor with SGH, with Dr. Cheng down there. And we also help bigger MNCs, right? Like Sompo for fraud detection, IBM for QC, Continental, also another computer vision QC projects, and even a non-profit like World Wildlife Fund. So all these projects are all real world, all developed, all in production, or customers are actually using and selling what we have built for them. So over the last 8 years now, we have deployed more than 300. What I shared with you was just a small snapshot. We have deployed more than 300 AI projects for various companies and organizations in Singapore, cutting across the startups ecosystem, SME, MNCs, and government. And we do that not from a pure research point of view, but from a very practical point of view. We want companies to start using AI. And one of the biggest challenge I had was that if you want to build a lot of AI, and the earlier speakers spoke about AI talents, we needed AI talents. And just like every other country, Singapore not excluded, we've had a shortage of AI talents, and therefore I needed to train AI talents that will work on these projects. So we created what we call a AI apprenticeship program that is now one of the most popular program to train AI engineers in Singapore. And actually, we have many countries coming to learn how we are doing this. So we basically use the real world projects that I mentioned earlier. We let the apprentice work on them. They are mentored by our AI engineers. And through this combination of a real world project, training the apprentices, we have been able to train more than 400 AI engineers over the last 8 years. But what's unique is that a lot of them are graduates coming from different working backgrounds. They are not computer science graduates. We have lawyers, we have accountants, we have nurses. I even had a doctor who basically have self-taught themselves Python, AI, and came through the apprenticeship and is now actually working as a AI engineer in the industry. So what we have shown is that to build successful AI talent ecosystem, you need to be inclusive. It is not just about PhDs. It's not just about computer science. It's not just about AI research. We have to be inclusive, and this extends to STEM and non-STEM backgrounds, individuals that have STEM and non-STEM backgrounds. So our apprenticeship programs runs for 9 months, and it's a full-time program. They all quit their jobs, they come in, and the outcome is that more than, I would say 99% of them actually land up as an AI engineer after the apprenticeship program within 3 to 6 months. So it's the highest placement rate in Singapore. So much so that several research has been done on this particular program, and I've shown on my slide here published in World Scientific Connect, developing human capital for competitiveness, right? So for those who are interested, you can actually download the research. So coming back to the national strategy, like I mentioned, AI Singapore, we started in 2017. And if you look at the National Strategy 1.0, a lot of what they mentioned in the 2019 1.0 strategy was really built upon what we built in AI Singapore. And the government took that as the motivation and the base and continue to add on more things. And that's why we had to do a lot more programs. And with National AI Strategy 2.0 in 2023, it became a lot more ambitious because of Gen AI. And in 2024, the Singapore government announced an additional $1 billion of funding, right? Not just to AI Singapore, but to the whole AI ecosystem in Singapore. On AI ethics and governance, again, I think Singapore has been leading in this. Back in 2019, we launched the Model AI Governance Framework at the Economic Forum in Davos. And in 2022, IMDA launched the AI Verify Toolkit, which was actually one of the very first to test, to provide a testing framework for AI in a generic manner. And then they spin that off into a foundation in 2023, and they created a new project under the AI Verify Foundation in 2024 called Project Moonshot to enhance the testing framework to account for the new Gen AI and LLM AI models in the market today. So coming back to AI talents, in 2017 when we started, it was all focused on training the AI engineers from my perspective, from my focus was training the AI engineers through our apprenticeship program. Fast forward 8 years, today in 2025, the focus is on jobs. And and training the AI, training the working professionals to actually deep skill and plus skill to gain new AI skills, right, for the new AI era. So if you look at some of the announcements that's been happening the last couple of months, Singapore doubles down on AI with 800 training new training spaces. We are part of this. The Singapore government, besides training, providing support to train individuals, are also putting a lot of resources behind companies, right? And in this case, up to 300 Singapore firms, right, to get cloud credits to start their AI POCs faster. Again, we are also part of this. And the latest announcement is 2,000 Singapore firms will receive expertise funding for AI adoption to enhance IMDA program. And one other things that, it's great to train all the AI engineers and getting the professional skill up on AI. But if there's no demand in the industry for these professionals, it is also a problem. So in that effort, the Singapore government have also been actively courting major corporations to set up their AI Center of Excellence in Singapore. But even before that, in March of 2025, together with Heineken and AI Singapore, we set up Heineken's Global Gen AI Lab. And this was actually a global effort by Heineken, and they selected Singapore as the base to start. After their senior management visited our office and our setup, they were convinced that we were the best partner for them to do this in Singapore. Similarly, we also set up BHP's AI Center of Excellence in Singapore. And following the announcements IMDA made that I shared earlier, we have Grab, we have Razer, all setting up their AI Center of Excellence, many of them working with us, tapping on our AI apprenticeship program to get access to AI talents. So with this, I would like to end my presentation and hand my time back to the chair.
はい、どうもありがとうございました。それでは3人目のパネリスト。
Thank you very much. We'd like to ask the third panelist to join. Mr. Putora from Indonesia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, and it's such a great honor to be speaking in this sessions with esteemed panelists. And I will be sharing, as requested, some examples or journeys in Indonesian's AI progress. Let me share my slide. Okay, so my name is Pandu, and I am the Special Advisor for Digital Transformation from the Ministry of Administrative and Bureaucracy Reform. So I'll be sharing on AI in the public sector from Indonesia perspective. So for those of you who don't know, my ministry is the ministry in charge for digital government in Indonesia. Although we have the Ministry of Digital, who is in charge for digital transformation more in the technical side and in the private sector, but in the government sector, we're leading the charge, and hence I got the contact and I met Chicago from previous events, and I have a lot of discussion with her, and thus she invited me to the event, and hopefully I can share our perspective. Now, just a bit context, as the previous speaker has said on the context on the journey in Indonesia on digital government. We have the days where we have like everybody just started and do everything by themselves with silos without any governance, and then we have the period in the green color where we actually have implementations and this governance and implementations. Now, the right now in 2025, we are basically in the take-off state where we actually have lesson learned in our foundational and acceleration period before in 2023 and 2024, in which we will also adapt AI and more emerging tech adoptions. Now, here we, as I think previous keynote speaker and speaker also said, that I don't want and we don't want to have AI just for AI, and also for digital government we have a priority use case, like what we want to focus on the next 5 years. In our government, we focus on poverty alleviations, ease of doing business, government administration, state revenue, and also citizen life cycle service or cradle to grave services. And we also focus on DPI as the backbone for all of these services. Now, this is where AI comes in. We want AI also become the backbone of a lot of this interoperability and improvement of citizen services. Now, coming to AI, we just like Singapore or Japan might already have as well. We have our previous strategy, national strategy in 2020 with the previous priority sectors. There are focus areas and sort of the components for our national strategy. Now, in just 2025, the Ministry of Digital is leading the overall AI strategy, release collaborative joint effort to revise and update the national strategy, because as we know, AI after the chat GPT in 2020, 2021 release is not the same before. As I think Dr. Keegan mentioned, like previously we were talking about regressions, machine learning. Now it's like with generative AI, it's way more different. So we have it more simplified, but also involve a lot of other components, like investment and financings, and of course use case is still the priority, as in we want to focus AI in a pragmatic lens of what we want to go, and we have decided on priority sectors, but there will be like details and quick wins that we will focus and already done. Now, coming back to digital government, because the topic right now is AI in public sector, combining the national AI roadmap and also just recently launched the AI ethics guidance by the Ministry of Digital, not my ministry, combined with our ongoing revision or update of our digital government strategy. We use all of these three documents to become the foundation for our next AI initiatives in public sectors moving ahead. There are the focus is transforming governance, create a user-centered government, and of course build trusted and integrated digital systems. We want to focus also on civil servants' capability, data availability, the technology itself, and still also the policy governance and management. Now, I was told also to list or mention some of the progress and examples. This is just a little examples, and we have many others. And as you might already see, this is more in the like early stage of use cases, as a lot of it is virtual assistants or AI support, and AI search. There's like law analysis, but we are now piloting or doing a lot more deeper AI usage in this year, and there's a plan next year that I won't explain here because it's going to be too long. But a lot of use in like permit licensings and a lot of analysis to help officers and to automate processes for citizen service. For talents, as Singapore does as well, we do a lot of also training and scholarship and retraining. And because this is in public sector, I want to focus on the civil servant. And a lot of our focus is ecosystem, as in it's not only like the government itself who does it, but we also invite the private sector or the civil society to work with us to share their knowledge, or if they have programs to train or equip civil servant to be more adept and understanding of AI, so we as government can be more updated in adopting AI. In other side, basically on AI talent generally, on private sector, there are a lot of programs as well, both from governments and incentives that we use in like tax incentives to push the private sector to do trainings. Now, I won't explain a lot, but basically, the challenges is quite the same with everyone, but the data silo and privacy risks is one of the challenges for AI implementations. Definitely lack of AI literacy and skill, especially in civil servants, make it complex for us to initiate or implement. Infrastructure gaps. I think the first keynote from Dr. Keegan also mentioned this. Trust and safety risks absolutely is one of the hardest to tackle, and regulatory clarity that we are starting to solve and create more flexible and accommodative regulations, but still provide clarity. Now, enablers, some of it already mentioned, so I wouldn't explain it deeply, but basically data interoperability, make it easy for us to train and generate an AI to use. And then collaborative, like I said, ecosystem talent development, partnership with private sector academics, and engagement with civil society. The strategic lessons, and this is my last two slides. Strategic lesson and recommendations for us and for next is prioritize citizen-centric, measurable use cases, and also important to reduce barriers for data interoperability. Encourage co-investment, build an ecosystem of interoperable and robust infrastructure, strengthen governance, ethics, and oversight, ensure inclusivity, and last but not least, build capability early and continuously. My last slide, I think is the same, the way forward, strengthen foundations, useful services, scale pilots, and more importantly, deeper perhaps rollouts, streamline systems, build platforms, just like Japan also planned, and standards and regulations. Now, one of the things also to from us is call for collaborations. Hopefully, we can have a knowledge network, perhaps shared research and joint project, talent exchange, and regional AI hub, so we can together prosper and use AI in more collaborative and impactful way. Thank you.
はい、どうもプトラさん、どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Batra. So we have looked at 3 Asian countries, Japan, Singapore, and Indonesia.
それぞれの出自って言いますか、契機
For different reasons, they have started AI initiatives. There are a lot of commonalities and similarities as well. Sanuma talked about the Japan's digital agency, started with the digitalizing the government. Now they are ushered into a new phase of digitalizing the whole society. And Dr. Liu talked about the AI Singapore. From the beginning, governments, industry, and academia collaboration has begun. They have considered together how to make use of AI. And Mr. Butler talked about the Indonesian situation. Within the government administration, AI transformation agency was established, which is similar to the OECD government governance directorate. On the other hand, each one of you talked about the importance of human resource development, how to ensure to educate AI engineers, how to build ecosystem, how you can build use cases. I think these are common issues and challenges, common activities throughout the countries. We are sorry that we are behind the schedule. So lastly, I just want to give you a question. The theme of this seminar is really the international cooperation in Asia. What specific activities would you say would be suitable for AI? So I'd like to ask each one of you, Sanuma-san, Liu-san, and Butler-san, and then we would like to take a few questions from the participants, the audience. So Sanuma-san, please. Thank you very much. I'll be brief. So in what areas can we actually enhance cooperation? There are two major areas. First of all, as I heard, the use cases. I think we should share use cases. If you look at government administrations, we have common set of services depending, regardless country. And if you look at the whole world, there is a clear shortage of AI talents, at least in Japan. It's not just within the government sector. In the private sector, we have limited AI talents available. So in that sense, including other Asian countries, it is important to share use cases of AI adoption and what is useful to government and to the public sector. So, and secondly, this has been a long-standing theme. The trustworthy AI. How can we build governance in Asian region? I think it is important to continue on with dialogue and discussion. Of course, there are different political situations, different cultures, depending on where you're from. But you can go beyond the national borders. We can actually discuss how to make a secure and safe AI. I think it is important to have constant communication amongst Asian countries. So that is all for myself.
Moving on, Mr. Liu, please.
Yes. So today, AI Singapore, we are already collaborating very closely with all our ASEAN neighbors. We have very good collaboration, especially with Indonesia on our Sea Lion, the Southeast Asia Large Language Model. So we are collaborating, co-creating Southeast Asia specific large language model, and we are sharing that know-how and the data set with Southeast Asian countries and also to the wider audience. I know we have collaborations with Japan through Sony and so on and so forth. And from an AI talent perspective, our programs, we share how we train, and we actually have countries coming to learn from us. So we're happy to share that. some of our materials like that we have done to train working professionals or to just get people to know about AI, like our AI for Everyone, is released under a Creative Commons license, so anyone can just download and use that and translate to your own language rather than recreating from scratch. So we continue to innovate in this area, and are happy to share as and when we have new innovations with the wider ecosystem.
はい、どうもありがとうございました。それでは、プトラさんいかがでしょうか。
Thank you very much, Mr. Putora, please.
Yes, I'll be brief as well because I've I think mentioned that a bit as well in my slide. So I think first of all, I agree completely with Mr. Asanuma on use case sharing. I think this is really important because I think for us it's better if we start from the use cases and make it easy for us to see what's needed, see the end goal for us to focus. So that inspirations and that sort of use case sharing would be great. And that could expand more if we can do like shared research or joint project that includes perhaps talent exchange from companies or government in a perhaps a new mechanism in which there would be like transfer technology, but also could also work with like market access. So I think that would be interesting. We can work cross border. Now, I think the last one to sort of like wrap it all, and I think OECD to some extent is going to or already becoming this, or in other development partners as well. Maybe we also need to create some sort of like regional AI hub or knowledge network that, like I think Mr. Asanuma said as well, we might need to think in the future when AI become more ubiquitous. Maybe there will need to be some sort of AI interoperability framework between countries in a more trusted and safety and privacy protecting way. And that would be a conversation that we might need to think, although it might come like 5 years or even sooner. So I think that would be a good thing to start.
はい、ペトラさんどうもあり
Thank
が
you
とう
very
ございまし
much
た。
for your comment, Mr. Putora.
皆さんのお話の中からも、いくつかのことですね。
So there were a lot of things taken from your messages: use case sharing, joint project knowledge hub, the training materials sharing, and interoperability trust establishment. There are a lot of areas for us to collaborate.
今回は時間はないんですけど、
So we don't have much time to discuss more specifics, but I hope that this will help us motivate for the future concrete discussions. Masuda-san, did you catch any question from the floor? Well, unfortunately, for this time, there is no question from the floor. But I'm sure that there are questions from the audience, so they would be sending that to us, and we already passed the time. Well, thank you very much for three panelists to give us wonderful presentations. And this conversation, I think, will give us a chance to start the new initiative. Maybe we can form the communities or so on. Hope this will be a good, the starting point for all of us. Okay, finally, we'd like to ask Mr. Shiroyama to give a final remark, closing remark. Thank you very much for the participation. And this has been a very intense discussion. As Mr. Kawaguchi, Professor Kawaguchi said in the beginning, we have been holding this virtual government seminar for a long time. It started in 2014. There were several presentations, and many presenters talk about the change of the environment from the year 2000. Many countries started from the e-government, and then from 2018, it has evolved into the digital government. And I think someone in the slide talked about post-digital government too. The AI adoption is growing very quickly, so the digital government has been changing, and this is most the urgent challenge that we all face. And I think this was a served as a good place of sharing opinions, and this we would appreciate your insights and comments. We should be able to create a great networking community. So thank you very much for all of you for joining us today. Thank you very much, Professor Shiroyama. And we'd like to conclude the 19th virtual government seminar. And we really appreciate the participation for many audience. And Mr. Asanuma, Professor Liu, Mr. Putora, Mr. Shiroyama, thank you very much for staying until late. And all of the participants today are huge, the very important figures, and we enjoyed this diversity in our in this seminar. This is going to be a very important collaboration for the future of AI in governance, and I hope this would help us drive our collaboration. And the information will be publicized later on about this seminar in the future, as well as some portion of the video. And we will send an email to the participants to let you know about this information sharing. We really appreciate you help us in answering this survey, filling out the survey. And we also would like to thank interpreters. So, well, I really, well, thank you very much. So, okay, with that, we would like to close the 19th virtual government seminar, and next, the 20th, will be the commemorative seminar. So we look forward your participation next year again. Thank you very much.